in terms of Instagram and all of that, I'm not really actively active. My family kill me because they say, "Mom, please don't put this on Facebook." You know, I think that's the only place I like to put people things.
Yeah.
But there's no ways. I don't think it's right to put bikinis and because they look at that, and I've noticed what's happening in LinkedIn, and people are starting to post things that are not professional, you know. And
LinkedIn.
Yeah, and LinkedIn is just supposed to be about professional issues.
Yeah.
But now you see them posting, oh, there's something happening at Sowewe, you know. So I'm even not even getting interested in looking at LinkedIn because it's now becoming a bigger extension of Facebook. But like the marketing guys were saying earlier, they're saying, I'm not a marketing person, but when they're recruiting, they are looking at your profiles out there. In my business, I deal with clients. And if I remember once one of my employees, they commented on a client. I said, we cannot, not negatively, in a good way.
Okay.
But, you know, a little too personal. I said, we can't do that.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. So in my business, I cannot post things because my clients will see them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not looking for a job like you guys. Yeah. So, but maybe right now I'm on Stanbic. Maybe in 5-10 years, another organization will want me to join their board. They're going to start looking at what I've done. So, yeah, I can only echo what Obonye said.
Yeah, this is also advice to me. I'll start checking out what I've been doing. If anything, at this moment, guys, we should go back, check out what we've been writing, and delete. Again. Hey, I got a lot of deleting to do. I even get calls from my own parents sometimes, like, come on, man.
People of different identities. Podcast. With BSCAR.
Hello, everyone. Are you guys cool? Hey, no, you guys are looking nice. Negeriki, can represent a moment. What you guys think? Come on now. Yeah, no, get that. No, thank you so much, guys, and big up yourselves for coming through, and even for this session as well. I just thought maybe, you know, look the part, because these are the future entrepreneurs of our country, you know, people who are holding it down, so you guys can give yourselves a round of applause. Now, how many of you guys have watched the Poodycast before? Oh, my word. Okay. So, off guard there. I wasn't. Thank you so much for watching it, and this is why we're here. The people at the Business and Leadership Expo thought, okay, since this is a show that a lot of young people watch, the questions that we ask most of the time, it seems like resonate with you guys. So we're going to be having some of the panelists that have been here, that have been holding it down. I don't even know. Has the show started? Ooh. Start again. Yay! Hey, all right, well, everybody, welcome to this edition of the Poodycast. My name is SCAR. I am your host, and we're coming at you live. Not really live, but we're coming at you straight from the Business and Leadership Expo right here at Baisaro University. This is a beautiful place. This is my first time really seeing it apart from Groove. I'm sure some of you are seeing it for the first time apart from Groove. Oh, you guys come to school here? All right, so yeah, thank you so much for having us as Poodycast over here. And we hope our session with you guys goes accordingly. And today, what we have on our menu, we're going to be talking about women in leadership, okay? I can see there's a lot of ladies who are in the house as well. And thanks to the homies as well for sticking by, because we, you know, these things we need to understand, because Rebecca Mo, I get it. You can't be taking it for granted. And we got some heavyweights in the house. I think they wouldn't have come to my show if I had just asked them by themselves. Smoke DL. So shout out to the Business and Leadership Expo for availing them. The first one on our list is a panel of two ladies, very, very big giants and juggernauts in their own industry. And they've been doing it for a lot of years. I've been looking at them from a distance and also, when I'm proximity, but, you never really know what someone really gets down to until you read it. So bear with me here. Our first panelist is, our first guest actually, is a marketing and communications manager for NMG Administrators Botswana. And she started May this year, so she just got the job. Yeah. Okay. She is also recognized as a PR and marketing practitioner in Botswana with over 20 years of banking and marketing management experience, having held executive management positions in 2 listed entities being Absa Bank Botswana and FNB Botswana. Doesn't get bigger than that, right? She is also former head of marketing and corporate relations for Absa Botswana, having joined Barclays Bank of Botswana in the same position back in the day, about 2019. So she saw them rebrand Barclays and Barclays Life to Absa brand. So that's a big deal, to change a brand into another brand. And she's in the PR office, and she's the one who's heading up all of these strategies. So that is a big, big deal. So we are very, very happy to have her. She's also held roles of director marketing and communications. She's worked for Bo FNB, and she's worked for RMB and Bo West Bank. Listen, it's too long. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Ms. Ubonyi Malope. Hello, ma. How are you doing, B? There's your mic over there, OB. Right over there. Hi, how are you doing? Madu, do you know what she just tried to do right now, guys? She has a guest house called Madume. Did you see the subtle flex? So I'm going to let you do it again. Hi, OB.
Madumeska.
How are you, ma?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. It's a Friday. If you weren't here, where would you be?
Oh, in
right
the office.
now at this time.
I would be what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Representing big brands, energy. So that's what I'll be doing. Limadume Guest House.
Limadume Guest House. Give her a round of applause one more time, man. And thank you so much for joining us. The second lady on our panel is none other than and I have a lot of questions for her as well. She has an MBA from the University of Suffolk, and a BSc degree in applied psychology, specializing in occupational psychology from the University of Wales Institute of Science and Technology. She is also a renowned and well-established professional with over 30 years' experience in human resources field, spanning various sectors, having worked in the mining, the parastatal, insurance, and financial services. And she has formed her own human resource consulting firm in 2003 called Resource Logic. And she has an in-depth understanding of the local Botswana business and has a strong appreciation of international best practice principles, having worked in both the UK and the US of A. She is, we'll stay here all day, but now we have her in the house, so I don't have to read all of them. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for none other than Ms. Batso Dambegro. Oh, there's the music. Hey, go. Hey, ma. I'm happy at least we greeted backstage because, hey, I'm one person who believes in comfortability, so hey, it's one of those, you know what I mean? Is the mic on? Is it working? Let me check it out for you. Gents, not everyone is a rapper. These mics you have to turn on for the ladies. So make sure, let's check it out. How's it sounding?
I think it's good.
It's working. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm very, very good.
Good.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
I think I should start with you also because a lot of us see the surname. I don't know if you guys see the surname. You are a mom to some of the best athletes we've ever had in this country. So a lot of people, I know you guys don't know Kaya and Kevin Groth, the karatekas. That's their mommy. So I thought at one point that you were like just a king, a karateka mom. Before I even saw like the credentials, and then later on I got to realize like with sporting moms, I don't know how you were able to like do all of this, but also create world champions. Well, also, raise them as well. Like, how did you do that?
It's a balancing act.
Emma.
In fact, having 2 boys, I thought, how am I going to keep them out of too much naughty trouble? So that's how they actually got into karate. And I'm a sports person myself, so it was a natural to, when you're not working, put them into something. And it's just balancing. It's a juggling. It's not easy. It's juggling,
Definitely.
But, yeah.
But what do you get up to? Are you into sports, though, Obonye? Like, are you into the sports world? Or I know you support Arsenal. And, we came second this time around. Do you think there's any hope for us? No, get Nale. Are there any Gunas in the house? Okay. So what do you think is going to happen this season?
Yeah, so one of my many hats is chair of the Arsenal Botswana Supporters Club.
Come on.
Affiliated to the mother body in London.
I didn't even know there was such a thing.
There is such a thing.
She opened it up. Like, yo.
So I'm the chair, so you can imagine leading a team of men.
I
think I'm one of the few females who follow football as religiously as I do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big part of my life.
Awesome stuff.
And this season, retire copy.
That's what we always say. I don't even know what to do anymore. But like, thank you so much, guys, for hanging out with us. I think to get to the business at hand, a lot of people want to hear your views about leadership in BW, and I think just to be very broad about it, just starting from the jump, where do you think women are in leadership as far as just as a scope in general? Because I was looking at the primary elections just recently. It's a party. It's looking bleak for the ladies. So I don't know if that's where we should be looking at leadership first, or leadership for where do we start looking at leadership if we can't get it in those higher echelons of governance and stuff?
You know what? I think it's a bit sobering. As you say, or when you look at the political landscape, we really don't have a lot of women who are even running for office. And I look at it as a challenge maybe to some of us to say, yes, Obonye, it's one thing for you to say that there are no women who are rising up to the challenge to actually run for office. But at the same time, what am I doing about it? So I do have those aspirations. One day now, step up to the plate and do that. But when you look at the leadership landscape in general, I think it's quite promising.
Okay.
And I'm one of those people who, I'm sure I annoy a lot of people. Anytime a woman is announced a CEO or director, I'm always like posting and celebrating on Facebook.
Yeah.
And people will be challenging me to say, but Obonye, why are you always celebrating the women and not the men? Because I want to get to a point where we stop having things like the first woman president, the first woman chair of Arsenal Botswana Supporters Club. I want it to be business as usual, where we are in leadership positions everywhere that you do have a leader in.
Awesome stuff. What about you, McGrath? When you look at it, does it even matter? Or, what do you think about the political landscape versus leadership? What?
Look, I'm not a political person, so I have to put it from a perspective of leadership in general. And I think what we have to understand is that generally in the world, there's a lot of research done on it. Women form 50% of the workforce. And they do get to certain levels, but then there is what they call a pipeline leak, where once it gets to more senior positions, the number of women drops significantly. So I'm imagining that the business environment and the political environment is similar. Yeah. And I guess we'll get to it, but I think there's many, many reasons why that's happened. To be a woman in that kind of a landscape is not as easy as being a man in that kind. I'm not discriminating against men, but you were talking about balancing the two karate things. Yeah. I think that's some of the things women have to deal with. And from a political perspective, when you have to travel and you might have a family, it's not so easy. Whereas the man will go and the wife will stay with the kids. Generally, I'm generalizing. Yeah.
Talking about you, let's talk about your journey into leadership, particularly in the human relations sphere, and also ultimately running your own businesses, ownership. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey and how it came to where you are right now?
I was saying yesterday, my niece was saying to me, Auntie, what do you do? And I told her, I do this and I do that. And she says, oh, you're a hustler. I said, and I said, yeah, I'm a hustler. The thing is, my journey started on the mines. And obviously, in those days, the mines was predominantly male. So you had to navigate that landscape. I managed to navigate that by having brothers around me and some older sisters to look after, because when you get in there, you're fresh blood. And then moving to water utilities, also male-dominated environment. And you kind of have to, you can't be emotional with these things. I think if I look at all the organizations, they've all been predominantly male. You just have, unfortunately, it's called the double shift. Women have to work hard, but then they also have the most unpaid work, being the side at home. So throughout the career, it's been like that. Maybe I've been extremely fortunate. From the beginning, my parents were very supportive and pushing me, actually, go and do stuff. And then I've been lucky I've had a supportive husband, because you need support. You can't do these things without support. Whether it's a sister or an auntie or an uncle or somebody at home, you need it. So it's learning how to navigate, learning not to get too emotional. I mean, I remember one time when I was promoted to assistant general manager. I was telling the ladies yesterday, and the rumor was I was sleeping with the general manager. So it's those kinds of things that come up, and you just have to learn how to. You actually have to have, what's this thing? A strong backbone. Yeah, a backbone. Yeah.
So with those though, like when things like that pop up, you sleeping with this one because you're getting ahead. How do you deal with them? Do you ignore them, or what would you advise someone who sees that? Because that happens a lot when women start, breaking the whatever ceiling that is there for them. Do you ignore it, or do you become the one, fight it and then risk being called emotional?
I think the proof is in the pudding. So long as you are delivering and it can be seen by those who understand your delivery, there'll always be people, whether you're doing well or not. So you just have to work hard and prove for yourself, really. So long as I did go to my boss and say, do you know this is the rumor about us, But I think so long as you know, and you're working as hard as you need to work, you're delivering the deadlines. In fact, unfortunately, women have to work harder than men because we get judged differently. There's no use trying to confront it. It's like if you're angry, the anger actually wears you down more than if so it's easier just to show what you do and ignore. Obviously, if it comes in your face, then you'll say something. But otherwise, it's just part of life. And I think even if it's a male and they're doing well, they face similar challenges,
Definitely. I'll take it over to you, Obonye. I want you to tell us a little bit about your journey in public relations, because there's a lot of public relations people out here. You are famous on Facebook for saying what a PR has some people will be trying to do some PR and then she'll give examples about it. That's not how it goes. How did you get into PR and how did you get so far with it? Because like you see, everyone thinks they can do it.
Yes, so I started off actually disliking PR, if you know. So how I got into the role is there was a point at Mascom. I was in marketing, so in Mascom, marketing and public relations are actually two separate departments, separate bosses, separate teams, everything. You are, in essence, like if you are technical and marketing, that's really the same difference, although we collaborated a lot. And there was a time where the chief public relations officer had left, had retired. And at the same time, the public relations manager then had also left to go into politics, Mr. Motlali, Udile Motlali. Yeah. He ran for office, I think it's Ramosa.
Yeah.
So I would get called, and because I was nobody now for public relations, and I was in marketing, the CEO would call me to his office, hey, I have this request from this minister, I want you to look into it, is it something that we can do? And I've always been known to be the kind of person who does extracurricular, so I always go beyond the scope of my job.
Yeah.
So when you give me those assignments, I'll just go and research, thinking, and I'll go back to Mr. Kusero. Oh, Mr. Kusero, yeah, Minister de Graaf wants this. I think we should do it like this. And you look at me like, why are you telling me?
Yeah.
Why are you not doing it? You know, and I feel like, go back to my office and just feel like, I'm just trying to do PR team.
Value added.
Yes, and then luckily for me, a PR guru came to Mascom.
Yeah.
So I was able to really learn from somebody who has been in PR for most of her career.
I want to ask you there, what is the difference? Well, you did tell me, but why do we seem like we combine them? Like we combine PR and marketing a lot of the time. I don't know if it's in government structures, but like you say, there was a distinct difference between PR and marketing. Why, I don't know if you've observed it, or there's always that connection in BW.
Well, I think in some organizations they are combined,
Okay.
like especially at director level. Like when I was at FNB, I was doing both public relations and marketing.
Okay.
So it's just really a choice
All right.
that an organization takes. But so that's when Teboho came, and we collaborated a lot with your Mascom Top 8s, the Volleyball Federation when we used to sponsor them, and just a lot of different activities. So I got to really learn from somebody who knows PR like in her sleep.
Yeah.
You know, so people think that I'm the PR expert. Actually, I'm not. That's why I always say I'm a practitioner.
Yeah.
I'm actually still, I see myself more like as a student. I'm
Yeah.
actually still learning.
Yeah.
And that's why when I say PR, I say hobby. I'm actually even saying it to myself to say, this is not easy or simple or anyone can do it.
Yeah.
You need to always take it seriously. So I got a chance to learn from her. And then from then on, when I moved across to FNB, I was in marketing still, not PR. 6 months into the role, my director left, and she was doing both marketing and public relations. So I said, I'm not ready. I've only been here 6 months, fresh in the organization, barely confirmed.
Yeah.
Mr. Bohashu. So I interviewed and I was successful and got the role. So since then, I've always been doing both marketing and public relations, even up to now.
So where does that all come from? Like this eye of the tiger? What in your upbringing gives you the confidence to like, because a lot of people have imposter syndrome. You know,
Yes.
you just got in through the door. What gives you the confidence to think that you can do this?
Do you know what? Like you said,
What about your upbringing?
It goes back to the upbringing.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a child, I went to 6 different primary schools. That's 6 different primary schools in 7 years. There was 1 year where I changed primary school. First time I was in one, second time I was in another, third time I was in a different primary school. Because my father, he was very quick to move us. So he felt the curriculum or whatever, he didn't understand. There was one school where he moved us because how do you go to this school and they don't teach? So we moved around a lot. So we were quite nomadic, changed schools a lot. So I was always the new kid in school.
Okay.
What like a uniform because by that time I used to regular uniform and they've stopped selling it for the term or whatever. So I moved around a lot, and that taught me to almost like be a pioneer. Because I get when you're the new student, you're the one who has to go and say, hey, but so, you know, I need to make a friend, So I was always making new friends.
Yeah.
And I got to develop that pioneering sort of mindset. I'm not scared to try new things. And that's why even I gave the example earlier when I, throughout my career, moving along. And then I ended up in banking as a branch manager. And I made the decision then that I wanted to go into marketing now. This is now taking you back to the early 2000s. And when I saw the advert for Mascom marketing, I applied for that role, even though I didn't know what the role entailed, because even at Mascom, it was actually new to the organization. It only had a job description and a vacancy. That's it. There was no manual, there was no policy, there was no, it was like fresh from, that strategy, let's do this role. So I did that role for about 18 months. Another role developed to be the communications strategy officer, also new to Mascom. Also no policies, no nothing. I jumped for that role as well. So I've always been willing to try, raise up my hand and say, you know what, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
I'll learn.
It's bravery. I mean, not a lot of people can say that about themselves. I used to think it was about public school and private school. Public school, and with private school, a lot of the time, but confident. Am I wrong or am I right, guys? So I always used to attribute it to that. Confidence, comes from like this girl. But, here and there people prove me wrong, because I don't know which schools you went to. Do you want to highlight which schools you went to?
Yes, I went for primary school, I went to 3 Setswana medium schools.
Yeah.
And I went to 3 English medium schools. And can I tell you where was one school that I once went to?
Yeah.
Go Naledi. Teresanyo Primary School. I went to there for, I think, a term or so.
Yeah.
Because when I moved to G West, so that's why I say I've always been thrown into those sort of situations where, you are now literally in old Naledi and you are like, what's going on? It's not even cast. It's like, you can just imagine back in the day in old Naledi and all.
No, right now it's beautiful. Yeah. It's got rainbow colors. Yeah, I want to come back to you, Megroth, with the hard questions now. What do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities for women in leadership positions in Botswana today? Well, you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, we have cocktails from the good people at Hydro Drops. Don't be afraid to take a sip while you think about the question. Iced
tea thing.
Yeah, iced tea. So they're very, very nice. So
that I think that's a very, very broad question.
Yeah.
In my view, the challenges women face to get to leadership, it starts from society, because generally girls and boys are brought up different, and they're even put in different careers. Boys are told, okay, you can study, these harder subjects, and girls are told, oh, you can go and study these softer subjects. So society's work environment is going to reflect society in a way. And then it's things like the ways of work. Like if you're in the corporate environment, it seems in order to be seen to be a hard worker, you have to stay at the office late.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, even if you're not doing anything, I remember being in, I said, what are we doing here? And it was just sitting around. I said, and it's just to be seen to be working late. That doesn't work for a woman if she's got kids. Or even if she doesn't have kids, she has to be the domestic, if she's a wife or something. It doesn't work. And so it starts from there. You're talking about assertiveness. Women, we are taught not to be assertive. And when you are assertive, just like you said, whether it's primary school, private, government, whatever, you're sitting in meetings, If you talk, people will keep quiet in a meeting. Then if you talk, because now if I have something to say, I'll say it. Yeah. Not being rude or anything. But then outside it'll be like, oh, oratadilo, right? And then you leave the meeting and everybody starts talking. I'm like, no, it's too late. Yeah. You should have been talking in there. So then there's things like female traits and male traits. Female traits are considered not good enough to become leaders, generally. Whereas male traits are considered, this is a good leader. Yeah. He's dominant. whereas we women, we listen, we empathize, we want, we generally, not all, approach things like that. So I think that dichotomy also poses a challenge for women in leadership. And honestly, you can even see, you were talking politics. If a woman is too vocal, there's so many things said about her. Yeah. So I think it's worldwide. I don't think it's just Botswana. Botswana is not doing as well as the Beijing percentage. Is it 30-something, something like that? Other countries are doing way, way, way better than us in terms of politics and women in leadership. So the challenges are complex, really, really complex.
You just break them down. Like some of them I wasn't even paying attention to, because I've had head-ons with strong women in broadcasting, and a lot of the time they were not liked because of that. And like you say, even if a guy becomes assertive enough to ask people how they feel, what's going on at home, they're looked at like female traits. So that never hit me until now, or that can actually be detrimental for someone to get a promotion. Let me bring it to you, though. What type of challenges do you see out there for ladies, especially in your field of work?
Well, one other one that I can add to what Bats was saying is men like to steal ideas. So women in the room, please, you'll be in a boardroom, and as Bats is saying, you'll contribute something into the topic. All of a sudden, Sky is like, yeah, no. Hey. And then Sky runs away with your idea and sells it to them. I had to learn to take back my ideas, because then someone is running, even hey, who's this guy? Who's talking? So you have to learn some of those tricks that men use. I used to work with this guy who we did the same job, like we had the same role. Yeah. Every meeting you'd come with long explanations about how busy he was, doing this, that, and the other, and then report the more reporting. Yeah. So men are very good at upselling every little thing that they do. They will upsell it to the max.
No, I'm one, I know.
Yeah. Preaching to the choir. Mosadi and Nakuru will be there where you are almost, downplaying it. Or, I only managed to interview 2 subject matter experts. I was supposed to do 10. Sky and I relay 0. And then I met back to them, runs away with the story. So I think men are just generally, for the most part, better at selling whatever little experience or any little thing that they do. Whereas as women, we tend to downplay and say, no, I want to get to the level where I've exceeded. Yeah. And that's where the working twice as hard for half, half the praise often comes in.
But then what do we do about it culturally, though? Because, we're in 2024, and there's a lot more, I guess, driven young women out there than they used to be. And we can see now, they don't need us as much as, not you guys used to need us, but like women pretty much, it seems, don't need dudes because they're making their own money. They're doing their own thing. So what culturally has happened for this change that we're currently experiencing? I know it's not a lot, but like what seems to have happened? More women now think, before I even get married. Some of them even think about marriage at like 39 or like 40 and whatever, but they still feel like, I've lost. Here my friends have families, they have kids, they have all of that. So they still have that feeling within them. But, they've made that money and they've taken care of their families. So what has changed culturally? Or are we still stuck in the same mindset that we've had? I don't know who wants to take that one.
Well, I think for me, some of the changes has been seeing actual role models. Yeah. Where you say, but if Batso Adam Bengroth can be chair of one of the largest financial services companies in Botswana, why can't I? Yeah. And I think in the generation of like my mother, etc., they didn't have those sort of role models to inspire them. And that's why even today when they asked me to do the podcast, I said, you know what, let me come along because I know somebody, even if it's just one person in the audience, will draw some sort of inspiration to say, but if one can be in this field for 20 years, etc., as long as I keep at it. So I think just having those real life role models makes a huge difference.
That's some stuff.
I think I want to mention, you talked about when you say we think we can do it. And I'll use my own experience, is when I became acting chair BIHL, I said I don't want to do it. I said I can't do it because I'm not a financial person. And like you say, BIHL is a huge financial industry. And I was like, I'm an HR person. And, you know, okay, I'd worked there for 8 years.
Yeah.
And luckily, whoever was there said, no, don't worry, we've got a bevy of accountants around you. You know, don't worry about that.
Delegate.
And I think that's one of the things that you have to learn, that you actually don't need to know everything, you know. And I think if we're talking about leadership, one of our challenges if you're talking culture, is we feel we must know everything and we don't want to delegate. And, you know, if you're a boss, you hang on to everything. And that's not going to work, you know. You need to have trust in the technical people, you know, in every area. You know, if you're not an IT person, you don't know what IT is. You guys were talking about marketing earlier. A CEO can't try and tell you what marketing is because they're not marketers unless they're marketers, you know. So I think for me that was one of the changes for myself personally, to say, you know what, I need to trust the people around me. And that's my leadership style. You know, I don't try to pretend I know. In fact, if it's a technical, I go to the tech. What do you think? First, you think it's okay? Okay, fine. You know? Instead of me trying to say it's like this. This is not going to work. But culturally, I do think that our mothers put the platform because they worked very hard. I mean, if I use my own mother, she didn't have a degree, and she put herself through school diploma with her children, and she worked for 24 years. But she made sure that she encouraged her kids, boy or girl, didn't matter. So that generation, I think when you say what's the shift, they've kind of encouraged the girl child to be whatever they can. So now you get female leaders, you know. At BIHL, at one point, I was very proud because the chair was female, the group CEO was female, the CEO of Botswana Life was female, the CEO of Biffin were female. Not because they were female, because they were the best candidates.
They were the best at the job.
And that's what we have to push. We mustn't just assume because we're women, we have the right. You have to earn the right, you know. It's really important. It's like the days of localization. You have to earn that position as a Motswana. So my message is, the difference is I think women are more driven to succeed because of role models that they've seen. I hope we don't leave the male child behind because, like, I now sit at Stanbic. Our profile is we've got a lot of women in EXCO. And so we're consciously thinking, actually, we have to bring up the male child, you know, the male guy. You know, so it's important. It's a balance. I think we've pushed women. Bo, Beijing, Bo, Marang's mom. What's her name? No, she's Emang Basadi. You know that group of ladies.
Okay, Emang
I don't
Basadi.
I call her Auntie Ntombi, so I'm trying to be a bit professional. Must try. You know, that group of ladies. So I think that's the shift. They set the platform for that thinking. But worldwide, in fact, there's a McKinsey study, World Economic Forum study, that says at the pace worldwide that we're going, it's going to take 131 years to reach full parity at senior level thingies. That's just studies. There's a lot of studies out there of it's happening, but not at the pace that it needs to happen.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that. I want to talk about personally, though. I'll take it to you, Obi. Any significant barriers that you faced in your journey to leadership, and how did you overcome it? I know, idea stealing and all, but are there any significant one that you can think of that you overcame and got you to a higher position?
So when I first joined FNB, as I said, I was marketing manager for consumer. It's one segment in retail. Yeah. It's your individual customers, including students, etc. And when the role came for the director position, obviously I applied, interviewed, and was successful. All of a sudden, the people who used to be my bosses, the other directors, were now my peers. Yes. And then the people who were my peers in the marketing team were now my subordinates.
Oh, yeah.
So good, you are getting it from both ends, where now you are people who used to say, can you sign this? Now you have to go to her and be assertive and assert yourself as a fellow director, because you are there to do your job at the end of the day. Two things helped me really navigate that transition. One was Stephen Bohatsu, a very supportive line manager, a very supportive boss. And also, fortunately enough, my office was about 20 meters from his. Now I hit the office, go the corner office. Yeah. So I got a chance to really get a mentorship, as well as that support directly on a daily basis. Anything that I needed to raise, I would obviously raise with him. Yeah. And then when I also realized that, I was struggling a little bit with asserting myself in the boardroom. But there's some people who are naturally, they're very vocal. Yeah. I think I tend to be very vocal on a one-on-one basis. But when it's a team setting, a little bit and there's a lot of chatter, even in social settings, I tend to then listen more than I talk. Yeah. So it's something that I had to work on. So with that, I actually got an executive coach that I worked with for 6 months to say to her, you know what, these people are now my peers, and I need to demand from SCA certain things.
Where do you get an executive coach?
Yeah, I worked with my Lorato.
Oh, coach.
Yes, Pina Lead.
Pina Lead, yeah.
Yes, I worked with her for 6 months.
Okay.
And
so these things do work?
These things do work.
No, I've gone to one of them, but I'm just asking you, these things do work, guys.
Yes.
Yeah,
work.
Leadership courses.
Leadership, because you know what, there are very strong personalities in boardrooms. Very strong personalities around the boardroom table. And a lot of the people that were in that team had been go FNB for 20 years, 20-something years. Some have been directors for 10, 15 years. Yeah. And here comes Sobonyi 6 months into the organization, has never been a director before. So I had to really, really, really work on that. And I would like to believe that not only did it have impact, because I was there for about, 4 years? Yeah. And then I moved across to ABSA also as an executive committee member. Awesome. So for me, that's something that really works. So I'll say, please find help and find the support that you need to get you where you need to go. Do not, like Batsu was saying, feel that because now you are the director, it means all of a sudden, all of a sudden the whole world sees you as Miss Botswana, and we're going to be running to them. Miss Botswana. It doesn't work like that in the corporate world. You actually have to now assert yourself with your colleagues.
I should ask you about this though, because now in the advent of Instagram or Facebook, let's look at the personal branding. And young ladies are out there, Instagram, selfie, that they're doing all that they can. How is that? How does that affect your job? What would you say to people who are online also? Bikini shots sometimes. Guys have their tops off. All of them. I'm not trying to take it one side, but we're talking about ladies here. What would you say to them about if you want to find yourself in certain positions? Should you be avoiding being an Instagram baddie?
I think
most of you can take it.
Yeah, I think for me it's about...
I'm talking about you guys.
For me, it's about being conscious of the brand that you are creating. Because sometimes we like to throw stones and
In a glass
hide
of-
your hands behind your back. Would we like to do certain things that, like, overly sexual pictures, as an example?
Yeah.
And then when people start liking, you are like, I was just, now I was just posting.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be aware of the perception that you are creating.
Yeah.
And to a lot of corporates, it really does matter. But the biggest one that I think, much more than Hormuta Perjang, people who are always having these fights on Facebook and social media. So those, to me, that's a bigger issue than just what's being an Instagram.
So your comment.
But yes, I think for me, because it says a lot more about you.
Yeah.
And happy, we even look at you in terms of what are your responses back and forth. 10 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Does she not have a life? What are all these things? That's what I'm saying. Own the brand that you are creating, and do not pretend that you are not aware or you are putting out a certain messaging. And to a lot of corporates, it really does matter.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Mapato.
I wanted to go back to the barriers one before I come into that, and that a lot of the barriers are invisible. It's not something that you can see. That's why they call it the glass ceiling.
Yeah. Because
a company is not going to act like that. There's barriers, but they're very subtle, So I think discussions like this are good because it's creating more and more awareness of what is happening out there. I think the fact today is great that we have men and women, because if we just have women, we're talking to the converted, and businesses need to understand actually these things exist and have intentional strategies to minimize. And I want to extend it to say, and we talked about it yesterday, I think, diversity and inclusion, because women are not the only minorities. So we need to add our diversity and inclusion strategies to include disabled people, other marginalized environments. Yeah. And if we make it broader like that, then it will change so that the focus is not just on women.
Yeah.
It's a business is intentional on doing this and making sure that it is diverse and inclusive. And the only way to do that is to have policies in place, actively have policies. But a policy can just be something in a file. It has to be lived. And the only way it's going to be really lived, actually, is based on who your CEO is. Because the culture of an organization comes from the top down. So if your CEO is all-inclusive and what you'll find a different profile to another organization where the CEO is maybe a bit more transactional, in terms of Instagram and all of that, I'm not really actively active. My family kill me because they say, "Mom, please don't put this on Facebook." I think that's the only place I like to put people things.
Yeah.
But there's no ways. I don't think it's right to put bikinis and because they look at that, and I've noticed what's happening in LinkedIn, and people are starting to post things that are not professional, and LinkedIn is...
LinkedIn.
Yeah, and LinkedIn is just supposed to be about professional issues.
Yeah.
But now you see them posting, oh, there's something happening at Sowewe, So I'm even not even getting interested in looking at LinkedIn because it's now becoming a bigger extension of Facebook. But like the marketing guys were saying earlier, they're saying, I'm not a marketing person, but when they're recruiting, they are looking at your profiles out there. In my business, I deal with clients. And I remember once one of my employees, they commented on a client. I said, not negatively, in a good way.
Okay.
But, a little too personal. I said, we can't do that.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. So in my business, I cannot post things because my clients will see them.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for a job. like you guys. So, but maybe right now I'm on Stanvik. Maybe in 5-10 years, another organization will want me to join their board. They're going to start looking at what I've done. So, yeah, I can only echo what Obonye said.
Yeah, this is also advice to me. I'll start checking out what I've been doing. If anything, at this moment, guys, we should go back, check out what we've been writing, and delete. Again, hey, I got a lot of deleting to do. I even get calls from my own parents sometimes, like, come on, man, what are you doing? I want to ask you, Meg Rothhonor, what unique strengths do you believe women bring to leadership roles? In your field or, in any other fields?
I love that question because, now I like dealing with facts. I don't like dealing with emotions. It's like even in my job, I deal with salary structures and stuff, and everyone gets very emotive about salary structures. But I say
it's our lives.
Yeah, but I deal with data. The market will say, this is what this job is being paid. So that's how, and even with this issue, I like to deal with facts. And the research is showing, it shows, there's a World Economic Forum, I'm sorry, but I just did my master's on this topic.
So you've been doing your research.
So I've got all the thingies.
I heard you mention Beijing. I was like,
no, Beijing was, but $28 trillion could be added to the world global economy if we had more women working in higher levels. $28 trillion. That's a lot of money. So it's not just an emotional thing. Hey, we must have women. It makes business sense. Business, women, the way you manage is being seen to change. Okay, before it used to be the top down was how it was. I'm the man. I'm the boss. You do as I say. That doesn't work anymore. Especially as we're dealing with baby boomers, millennials, Gen Z. Who's after Gen Z? Alpha,
Gen X.
One of them. Each one of those wants to be managed in a completely different way. You can't try and manage even how they work. The Gen Z are happy to just give up their job if they don't like it.
Emotional ones, those ones.
Just
very emotional.
Rona would be like, what? You're giving up a job? Type of thing. So, but the change in leadership is what is called transformational leadership, or you might even have heard of servant leadership, like Bo Mandela and stuff like that. They're listening to the people. It's no longer telling the people. You want to listen to the people and motivate the people and lead them in a way that is going to work for them. So the benefits, for example, you give to a baby boomer, not give out the pension, right? Versus a millennial who wants other things, and a Gen Z
car allowance, entertainment allowance.
What else?
Guys, what else?
No, these look like Gen Zs, most of them. Gen Zs want to be able to work at home in their pajamas.
Yes, also that.
And then they'll be happy.
Yeah.
So leadership, we need to acknowledge that how we're leading is not the same as in the olden days. And so they're saying women are more transformational leaders than men. Men are more transactional. I tell you what to do. Women will want to say, what do you think we should do? You see the difference? Yeah. And it's been shown that actually increases the bottom line of organizations. So I think that's gonna, and it's also, like I said, organization culture specific. Some people it's just a natural, and that's the internal culture. Others it's not like that. So, but yeah.
Awesome stuff. How would you describe your leadership style, Obonye, and how has it helped you navigate your career path?
Yeah, so I'm more of a consultative leader, hopefully transform into a transformational leader, because I believe that you need to have a sense of empathy in how you interact with your team. I believe that as a leader, you also need to actually have goals for your team. Good, it should not just be enough for Obonye to be director or head or whatever. I should want that for every person in my team. Or should they aspire to do that, that they can reach those heights. And I think I can point to a few, like Bill right now. Bill was in my team when I was at FNB. She's now director of, Bill Poro. Yeah. She's now director of marketing and communications. Honoko FNB. So, yes, because when I was there, she was running her portfolio. Okay. I believe my team needs to be empowered. If, for example, if you look at an event like this, which we're doing tons of events of this nature, I would want every single member of my team to have the experience of running an event of this nature. Because as a marketer, you need to be able to do the events, stakeholder engagements, know how to deal with the media. So I'd make sure that every single aspect of what I would say I would put into my CV, that the people in my team also had an exposure and an opportunity to actually even, learn and grow into the role. Or it's not just about me being at the top and nobody else around me.
You talked about mentorship from, the people that you were lucky to have been working with. But how important is mentorship and networking for women in leadership?
Yeah, it's critical. Yeah. It's critical because when you look at Ghana, people want to work with people who they know and they trust and they respect. And you'll only really get a chance to expose who you are to different people by networking. Yeah. And that's why you'll find like okay, no, now we think we know something about Basu. We can call her to be the chair of our board. And now Stanbic is calling her. That comes through networking, really. And we all know stories of the old boys club, how men used to go and make all these big deals. And they still do in the golf.
Golf
club.
Learn some golf.
Even the most unlikely people are playing golf.
So why did you guys pick up some golf clubs?
So that's a key. That really, in essence, is how men network. I get around football games, social activities. However, all of a sudden is being hired to be CEO. Podcast because we were playing a round of golf together. Yeah. So networking is quite critical, and I think oftentimes I'll just go and quickly get Batu's number and then I disappear. So now when I look at networking, it's also about, do the introduction, of course, but you need to do a quick follow-up. Because if you're going to reach out to me 2 weeks from now, I'll have forgotten you. Yeah. So now, immediately after this, you have my contact, and you are making that contact, okay, this is who I am, and also state what it is that you want to achieve through the network itself. It's about Facebook. Hi. 10 years later, hi. And sometimes I look and I'm like, and I scroll up, 2016. So for networking, it's important for you to ensure that you do that follow-up and you keep it professional.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then mentoring learn is
no emojis.
Well, emojis are they're okay. It depends what emojis they are. It's more wink and all sorts of, but But I get when you use an emoji to just show a bit of friendliness. But don't get too casual. And then mentor and learn is also quite important because, like Basu says, we don't always know everything. And you sometimes don't even know what you don't know. So now when you're able to get into a mentorship relationship, they can help you even unblock issues in your area at work. If I'm struggling with how to relate to my new CEO and I reach out to somebody else for mentorship, or Ghana, this is what I'm dealing with, they're able to help me not come to the conclusion now, now I've been there for 3 months, can I give it to my consultancy because maybe it's something about how I'm interacting with her, clarifying the expectations, etc. And you can only get that if you're able to have a good sounding board from someone who has gone through that path and can guide you.
Definitely. Yeah. I've seen that work. Huh?
Yes.
I've definitely seen that work. Because I'm a bit of a hothead sometimes. So when I get like overly emotional, there are some people now that I can reach out to and, they give you perspective. No, how will you listen to the dog? A little bit from this angle. I don't know if you want to add on to the mentorship and networking for women in leadership. How important is it for it?
I think you just hit the nail on the head. I agree completely with Obonye, but sometimes we think mentoring is just this formal you are asking which program can we go on. It's not necessarily about that. I've never been on a formal mentoring course, but I believe I've always had mentors. I've been very fortunate to have good leaders who can mentor me, and it's not been a formal executive coaching thingy. It's just been situations or people outside who I can go to. Like even now, there's people who I know, if I need advice from, I'm talking from a board level, there's certain people who are very wise, and I just call and I say, listen, what do you think about X, Y, Z? You know, and Tsapo was saying yesterday or this morning, there's a lot of people close by you who can be your mentor, because this group here don't have enough time to mentor everybody here, if you see what I'm saying. Yeah. So you can think of who's nearby me, who I feel I can go to, like Scar was just saying, to help, because it's very important. You need, sometimes you just don't even have an answer and you have to look to be intelligent. Yeah. So it's important to be able to go to someone to ask for advice and say, okay, how would you handle this situation, or what is your advice on this? So I think it's very important for women in leadership, particularly. And having a female mentor is great. I must say all of mine were men, but that was just circumstantial. There's a program, it's called Women in News. Anybody from the, yay! Are you from the media? Thank awesome you. So it's a wonderful program where every year 8 women in the media are put on the program, and they have a coach. So I was their coach for 4 years. Were you one of my? Yeah, yes. Queen.
No doubt.
And I'm pleased to say from the first cohort, she's now the coach. She's taken off me.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah, but it's good. You know, at the beginning you think, I'm obsolete. But if you're a good leader, that's what you should be doing, is training people in order to be able to take over from you. So I do think, and in terms, my last comment will be on networking, is my take home from this project was from Tabello, who's the head of sales at Blue Crystal.
Okay.
Yeah, and he said, if you think you want to meet someone for networking, 1, you have to know what it is you want from them. And 2, literally have 2 minutes for them to get the message, whether they're going to say yes or no. Yeah. You can't be waffling, and, you know, his thing was, in 2 minutes, say what it is you want to get from that person, you know. And I think that was a big take home for me. Yeah. I've been using the 2 minutes a lot, this thing.
It's right in here.
To
now.
all the speakers, I've been going, I've got 2 minutes.
Yeah, no doubt. No, now I have it in my head. I don't know if you guys are going to have any questions. I need you to like at least save some for these amazing ladies, because I'm learning so much. Are you guys learning? Okay. All right. So you guys have been here all day, so I'm guessing you're a bit tired. I felt that, yes. But yeah, we keep it going. So if you have any questions, please keep them ready, because we're going to have a roving mic in just a little bit, so that you guys can, you know, get your points across and show up on the PoodyCast. But my next question, I think it's Aisa Kwena Mebatso, and then Oboni, if you'd like, Luana, you can answer it. In Botswana, you know, what are some of the systematic changes do you believe are necessary to support and empower the next generation of women leaders? What's not there? What needs to change? No, nigga bereka. Hey, niki sorry. But say this has really been eye-opening for me too. Like, I'm learning a whole lot.
I think what would be great, and I think we did it very well during COVID. One of the challenges, remember we were talking about double shift for women, is having the ability to work flexi. Because the reality is there's domestic challenges. And in COVID, somehow we managed to do it, working from home. things got done. We learned in the beginning, you know, it was hard to even know. I didn't know how to do. My work is presentations. I was like, how do I present efficiently in this Teams thing? But I learned, you know. So I think if employers can look at it from that perspective, Mabu talked about a very interesting initiative they have in their organization called TOM. What TOM? Because, and it's not a, it's a reality. Women have menstrual cycles, and the first day or two can be a bit challenging. So they are allowed to take a TOM day at that time. They're women, you know, and work from, either be at home because you're in so much pain you can't work. So it's recognition of things like that. We need to bring change for women. I think that would be one of the biggest initiatives, and recognition that there is a glass ceiling. So what are we going to do about that glass ceiling? Not pretend it's not happening because we have a few women up there. Yeah.
But there's been a bunch, though, just in the recent past. There's been a lot of celebration of a lot of CEOs in the insurance space, in the banking space. I've been seeing, I mean, you celebrate them, and I see your timeline. So isn't there a change happening here?
No, the change is happening. You said what else needs to change?
Okay, what else needs to change?
The change is happening slowly. I gave you the facts. It's going to take 131 years for it to be equal. It is happening. Yeah, it's happening. And it's great. And I think the women are doing great things. And I think that's why we're having more women come in. And just even the way businesses are operating, ESG is a big thing right now, sustainability. And women seem to be very good at sustainability. Sorry to say this, Stanbic just won the Bank of Botswana ESG award for sustainability, and they have a lot of women in there. So I think we're heading in the right direction. From a political landscape, I think is a bit more challenging than the business landscape. But I'm not a politician, but you can see the picture. You can see what they were saying about Kamala Harris in the beginning, DEI, you know, just because.
I don't think she should do it, by the way. I think she should just let him win, because it's like she's jumping onto this thing late. You know, it's like they were never going to give it to her. But anyway, that's what I think.
I don't want to get into American politics. I was just using that as an example. So those are just a few things that I think we could do differently.
What are some of the systematic changes that, you know, you think are necessary to support and empower the next generation of women leaders?
You know, I know we talk about mindset change a lot, but this is an area that also needs a lot of that. Recently, I was having a discussion with an HR manager of an organization, and we're discussing the whole issue of women. Would you employ someone who's 7-8 months pregnant? Who's 7-8 months pregnant, and then she has 6 months probation or 1 year probation, depending on the organization. As an employer, what do you think about that? So you'll find there's still pockets where there's resistance to that, to say, well, we want women who are out of the childbearing age to get into those senior leadership positions. And that's something that has to be challenged, because Bahana, in this room, all of them are probably 10, 15 years younger than me, and they should be able to sit in the same space that I'm sitting in. The other thing that I believe needs to be changed, or...
Just hold on a minute. So, when someone is about to be considered to be a CEO, they should be outside of childbearing age.
There's some thought to there's some, not necessarily just CEO, but senior leadership.
Senior leadership. So they do look at they do look at that.
No, we're having that discussion. And in some organizations, I know that is a real concern.
My word.
How are you going to be gone for that long?
Can I just add to
It's
that?
invasive.
Take recruitment, okay?
Yeah.
You've got a male applicant. Okay, tell me about your background. What have you done? Da 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 da. Female. Do you have any children?
Yeah.
You see the difference?
Yeah.
So already they're thinking, okay, if they have any children,
Yeah.
not that they can say, if you have children, we're not going to employ you. That would be totally illegal.
Yeah.
And in my time, the law said if you're pregnant, you had to tell your prospective you had to tell your prospective employer. And I unfortunately accepted a new job at BIHL and found out, ish. And luckily, my boss he said, you know what, it's fine. You work, you'll get your full maternity benefits, blah, 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 blah. But not two bosses might say the same thing.
Yeah.
So those are sorts of, what she's trying to say is that they might say, Queen is still going to have another 2-3 children, but Batso's finished, so
That's
yeah. Not that they can say, that's
But
why I'm saying it's
This
subtle.
is what they talk about at the golf course.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. Like, just to think about that, and it's very invasive. And, like, as a guy, you don't go around thinking about stuff like that. You know, or, okay, cool. Someone might not hire me because I might have children in the future. That's not right.
Yeah, no, that's not right. But some organizations are also starting to look at even when you have small children, especially. Kana right, I get a lot of us really help us to come look after our kids. And on Monday morning, she doesn't come. What do you do? So some organizations are also starting to look at that to say, but what can we do to support those parents of young children? Most of the time, if it's Ubonyi and the husband and it's very rare for it to be the other way around where the man stays behind. So we're starting to look at that, whether it's access to kindergarten or nursery schools or emergency help for that day.
Yeah.
And Canada can make a world of a difference because if Ubonyi is always the one who's staying at home with the child, who's going to get promoted faster?
Mm-hmm.
The one who's always at work or the one who is like every so often?
Yeah, no, I didn't think these conversations were gonna be like this. You know, I really didn't even know what I was walking into. I just dressed well. I thought, I could get away with it with a nice suit, but so there are some problems out here that need to be solved. But do you think that as a society, in Botswana specifically, are we headed in the right direction as far as equality and as far as making it conducive for women as comfortable as we are? I think we're like this. We are so relaxed, and I think that's why we end up getting forgotten for other things because we're already occupying space. So in Botswana, is BW going towards the right direction as far as making this right? And a lot of it right. I know I'm generalizing.
Look, it's got dynamics. These are not easy questions. It's going in the right. It's going in the right direction. Okay, in terms of that. But I don't want to bring up GBV. But if you're a woman, in some circumstances you cannot be too assertive.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Because then it's like you're not being the wife.
Submissive.
I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Hold on. So that's another dynamic that women have to face. So I don't think I think we're going in the right direction in terms of appointment, but I think there's still a lot of dynamics out there. I'll use the media profession. Yeah. Queen will tell you.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why Women in News was formed is in order to get a story, sometimes, the things that you're asked to do, basically from a sexual perspective.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, yesterday, a guy came to me and he said, I'm glad you're talking about this. And he said, the problem is, Rona, buddy tenderpreneurs, is if it's a woman, nowadays, they are getting asked for sexual favors. I mean, he came to me, and I kept saying, I have to go in. But he really wanted to talk about it,
Yeah.
So I think, yes, we're going in the right direction. But I think there are lots of dynamics still out there, really. Yeah.
I don't know. You feel there's still more to be done? Maru, I'm moving towards something.
Yeah, no, there's still definitely more that needs to be done. I was just going to jump on to Batu's point about those dynamics at societal level, where you still have conversations where people will be debating, if your wife earned more than you, how would you feel? If your wife had a higher position, go to compared to when let's say when messenger and then across the road your wife is the CEO. Because you're still having these discussions where you are like, what home?
No, discussion.
2024.
Okay, if I was to put myself in that position and being truthful, I know a lot of guys who wouldn't be comfortable, you know. There's this whole thing, okay, usually if a woman is financially capable of taking care of herself and all of that, then she really doesn't need you for much and stuff. I don't know where that comes from. I'm not the owner of the logic, but, you know, and disrespect, or, you know, she doesn't respect me, whatever. So I don't know how we can fix that. Is it the guy's fault, or and now the women are moneyed up and they're like, say, hey, I don't need you. Hey. Which one is it? Is it the guy's self-esteem issues?
I think that's what I was saying at societal level. I didn't want to say it's either the man or the woman. But my point around that was then it kind of like holds back quite a lot of women.
Potential.
So when they know that, if they know that their spouse feels like that or their partner feels like that, they're less likely to aim for a higher position. I get over balance. So you'll find that there are probably a lot more women who could be up in positions of leadership, even running for political office, where the husband says, go Freedom Square. And then we sit around and say, but so you have those dynamics where now, at societal level, we are holding the women back from even soaring higher.
Definitely. I think you guys have your questions, right? With a show of hand, please. Hey, how do we do this, machines? Oh, I should come over with the microphone. Hey, okay. Hey, my boss says I shouldn't move. All right, so for the record, you're going to state your name. And, you know, you can tell us your business. Or, you know, you can start now. Advertisements are rude. We'll start with the young lady over there.
Okay, thank you. My name is Larona.
Hello, Larona.
Yes, and I'm a managing director of Corner La Villa Inn, a guest house in Phase 2.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm very glad that you raised an opening statement to my question, and thank you for that because it gave me a little bit of confidence to actually raise my hand. So I want to understand from our lovely speakers and hopefully one of the gentlemen around, I want to understand, as a young woman in leadership, I've noticed a very huge challenge. I don't know if it's rightful for me to be asking this in this kind of platform, but
go ahead, man. Go on the podcast. This is just our venue.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But I'm experiencing a huge challenge in finding a proper relationship, or rather love, because there's a perception that what do they call it? Independent women or women in leadership are hard to approach. Guys feel intimidated when they want to approach us for a relationship. So I want to know, how do you balance that aspect with your role or with your career? And I'd really love to understand it from the guy's perspective, because I want to know when a woman is in leadership, like this thing, should we act like we're not interested in being leaders? I don't know. Thank you.
You should fake it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Larona. Give her a round of applause. Should we take another question again, and then we answer Larona's? All right, we'll take two at a go, okay?
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
What up?
My name is Mogomutsi. I am an HR personnel officer at Maran Child Care Network Trust. My question is, I think I'll impose my question to the lady. Sorry, I didn't get the name. Meg Roth, Emma. My question goes like, in a transforming world, what is the leadership style that you believe is much doable or or suitable for a transforming world that I'm talking about. And then the second one, being the last one, is again, I'll impose it to you. How do you experience resistance when leading men?
Leader of men. Thank you so much, Papa. I don't know if you got them.
I got them all.
I think you might have to answer all of them because
I can't answer the one about men.
no,
I don't know about men.
Mrs. Groth has been married for a span with one of the most awesome men that I've ever met. You know, Mr. O is absolutely amazing. You know, he gives us his space. He has this rule, even when we, you know, they have a space where we rehearse music. So his rule is, you can use the space. You don't have to pay for it. Yeah. But if you miss the day that you're supposed to be rehearsing, you pay $500.
No, nice.
So this means you have to commit. The band has to all come. There's one sort of little space and say, "Hale kabela misa." That's when you pay. So he's absolutely amazing. And I think, I mean, how are you guys? You have so many hats, and you guys have such a lovely family. Help Laron. Because I mean, I'm with my lady. We're yet to get married, but like, you know, she whips me into shape. You know, as you can see right now, I'm really trying to be the best version of myself because she's the best version of herself every single time. So you want someone I guess motivates you to be a better version of yourself. So le ne high lore, khana the aspiration, khana planning. Ko rena ha ile gore wena o batla go spana o batla go phandla go na le spana go guest house nga gona ha go akantse gore bona late ga ra gona madi a gore mozaki re plan efeng chi. But if you find someone with, you know, you can level up together, I'm guessing, because you don't want someone who's going to make you feel bad about wanting to be better, you know. So find a cheerleader. Yeah, I think that's, I wouldn't know. Oh, Mrs. G, help me.
No, let me give you a scenario. I remember when I was growing up and my brother said to me, when you'll never get married. Because I was, you know, I was equal rights type of thing. Your prince will come. What I want to say is don't settle. Because often we're in such a hurry, then we meet somebody, maybe umuntle, or maybe, you know, and then we say, let me just settle. No, you don't need to do that. Somebody will recognize your worth. I'm quite a strong, stubborn lady. My husband is also quite a strong, stubborn man. So we have our strengths in different areas. No marriage is perfect. Anybody who tells you that, they're not telling the truth. We have our ups and downs, but we respect each other. And I'm lucky I've been allowed to pursue my career, you know. But within that, even at some point being the main breadwinner, always respect that the man is the head of the house. Well,
awesome stuff.
And then the other question was resistance from men. You know, I don't know. I have to be careful because I'm not a man. But my understanding of men is that they think in black and white. Well, 1, 2, 3 at a time. They can't do, no, 1, then 2, then 3. Not 1, 2, 3 at the time, you know. So it's just a case of, I think, like from a work perspective, you just have to present the case. If the case is woolly, there's going to be resistance. But if the case is solid, you know, 1 + 1 = 2. You can't start arguing with me that it's 3. Well, that's kind of how I see men. And another thing is, like, one of my pet discomforts is halokopana go fishing. Men, it seems okay to the woman, but the guy shakes hands. Well, now I reach out and I shake hands like this. So I think it's just with men, if they see that what you're saying makes sense, you win them over, you know. And there are some people whose automatic set button is no. Even in my own family, it's set button is no. It's just making them. You've got to just prove your point, whether it's a man or a woman. You have to prove your point. You know, if you're talking about a change strategy, you have to be able to show them the benefits of that change strategy. Otherwise, we all know there's resistance to change. And your first question was?
You want to repeat the first question, Maji? It was? Yeah, in a transforming
Leadership style, okay.
Yeah.
I think it also depends on your industry. But we were talking about it. Generally, this leadership style has to be customer-centric now. You know, you need to know what your customers want and lead in that way. The times of, even Maemo doesn't, in my view, doesn't work anymore. You know, if you look at Joe Biden, hey, let me a local version. A softer okay, look at an Indaba versus a Boko, for example.
Yeah.
Two different leadership styles, both probably very clever, but their relationship with their people is probably completely different. So I can't say to you it must be like this. You have to navigate your environment. What I do know is it's about people. You've got to work with the people, whatever industry you're in. It's no longer about, what's this called? Level your thingy. It's no longer about that. It'll work for a little bit, but not for long. And if you have that approach, I'll leave this bank to go to that bank. Simple. I'll leave this accountant to go to that accountant. So it's more about being flexible, I think. I can't say to you there's one style. What I do know is it's about people.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much. I don't know if we have two more questions, and then we should wrap it up. Or do you want to piggyback
I
on
wanted
that?
Respond to Larona, yes. Because Linda, I'm one of those people who I think I was
No, I didn't mention you because I can
being in leadership for so long, and that whole perception of independent woman, you don't need a man, etc. And sometimes you also have to push back to people. I don't allow people to just label me willy-nilly because I believe words have power, and words carry a lot of meaning. So you'll find, I think one year I had bought I thought it was quite a reasonable car. Nearly that's Hyundai Tucson, you know, the SUV.
Yeah.
It was like in 2009. And this man just comes, and I was said to him, hello, so I think you just also need to be self-aware. Sometimes as independent women, we get so busy. You know, I remember when some people got to realize what I had a partner and they said, we will
What?
And now men were coming out of the woodwork, but no, when you didn't like how and all of a sudden this guy also a guy. So the right guy will step up, as Batsu is saying. You don't have to settle. You don't have to lose sleepless nights. You don't have to read 2 million books on how to catch a man or keep a man. And none of those things. Yeah. Now I believe in that verse here, when the time is right, the Lord will make it happen.
Yeah.
So you can just come forward. If when you but she's an independent woman. They are regretting that I can never say chance and thing. But another thing is also don't be too busy for life. You know, sometimes we become workaholics, we get caught up, we have no social life, we have no areas of interest. Don't become too busy to still live and enjoy your life. And the right men will come along.
Awesome stuff, man. That's dope. That's awesome. I think we have room for 2 questions and then we wrap it up, guys, okay? because I don't want to hold them too long. We got about 15 minutes, and then we wrap it up.
All right.
Introduce yourself, Mom.
Good afternoon to everybody.
Yo.
Protocol observed to everybody present. My name is Shishi Mutlogelo. I am a presenter. I am a singer as well as an upcoming fashion designer. The brand I'm wearing will be part of your hampers. You will see them tomorrow. But I run a fashion brand called DVN, Divine Fashion. I'm asking 2 questions, piggybacking off your comment, Mama Lope. She's very right. The person who's for you will come. The Lord will make it happen. And also remember that your hyper-independence, it feels like hyper-independence now, but it's independence that is assigned and appointed to you for a reason. You have that strong character because there's a partner who needs you that way. So don't bow down to that. Now, on to the questions. My one question is in the reality of what we're talking about, the statement I just made. How do we as independent women, because we are labeled that way, how do we assert our opinions or our natural sense of leadership? It seeps into places even sometimes where we're not trying to prove that we are leaders. And that thing doesn't sit well with people. Simple examples like telling someone to take an off-ramp and avoid traffic. Like little things where people will literally just feel like, o rata go laola. Why we independent, we irritate about. How do we, as women in leadership, and the different spaces that we intend to hold up, because usually that independence it's partnered with ambition. So we're always, constantly looking to elevate ourselves and the people around us. How do we carry that without intimidating people and without making people feel like we're taking up too much space, therefore they're now walking on eggshells? And then the second question, I'm so happy that Mbewe is still present. Maybe I don't know if she'll be part of those who can answer on the corporate governance question. As females, and on the question of either leadership being born or bred, how do you show up with a good sense of leadership? We're talking about the different generations and how they want to be led differently. Some people are raised with strong leadership skills from the household. Now, how do you go and look for opportunities at Tiro and stay employable in your young years of, fresh out of tertiary, newly into the employment world? Leadership skill. Can we talk about how leadership from subordinate level, how do we deal with you not intimidating those who are ahead of you or those who are above you, but it's very evident that you hold a bigger capacity and natural essence of leadership while they might hold the qualification that got them to that level of leadership? How do we balance that on, not lose my job without scaring people?
And then my G over there.
Tina the rappers. I'm kidding. Dumela, hi everybody. The name is Mr. Awesome. Yes, like he has said, awesome stuff. Awesome show. Yes, I'm a creative designer. I also have my own podcast. It's going to be on the August 1. I host it, Go Social. Again, venue as well, right? It's more of a comment rather than a question, right? I was lucky enough, when I was eating, I sat among beautiful ladies who were also panelists, right? And we were talking about the issue of social media, right? We're like, look, at the end of the day, we have different millennial, Gen Z, Generation Alpha, and all of those things, right? As you leaders, I believe when we put women in leadership, it becomes more of a motherhood, naturehood leadership, right? I want to just put this out there. Can we please just put our policies to say, look, the way you would treat a 40-year-old person on social media and a 21-year-old person on social media should be different, right? Because the moment we start saying, no, don't post this, don't post that, of course, don't post bikinis. Again, hallelujah, don't post bikini, don't post other things, right? But let us not try and shut our people out. Because us as young generation, for me to say something up to the government, to say, no, guys, this is not what you were promising us. we are only able to do it through social media, because we cannot all stand up and start rioting and say, no, this is not what we want. Social media gives us a platform to start speaking out there, right? Same thing with us, the podcasters, the socialites, and all of those young kids here. We're at varsity. We get to express ourselves. We're in university. We still don't know what we want to get hired by APSA, by Stanbic, right? We have a mouth to speak. We go on social media and we start talking about some of the things that hold us a little bit deep, right? That one is done. As I said, you are leaders, you advise further, right? Second one, as a business woman, as a business person now, right? We're talking about birth and the 1 year maternity leave. Again, please, this is PD podcast, but I'm probably going to cut this one out, right? Do you think for a year, not having someone, let's give an example as a bricklayer, right? You're a construction company and then you don't have, podcast that I'm controversial, sorry, but do you think it's business-wise, let's not try to put gender into it, right? But business-wise, having one person absent for a year, do you think it is viable? Not my opinions, by the way. Views of this thing are not my...
Awesome stuff. No, thank you so much, Papa. I don't know how you're going to tackle them.
Okay, Mr. Awesome. I'll start with Mr. Awesome.
Thank you so much for the questions, by the way, guys.
Yes, thank you. Brilliant questions. I think we need to make probably a choice or a decision. It's either we believe the data, as Batsu was saying, that organizations that have women in leadership tend to perform quite well. She mentioned a figure in the trillions, or what we could add into the economy. So if we are sitting here in Botswana and we are crying every day about unemployment, and Ghana people can only invest what they make. So the more money that's in the system, the more jobs will be created at the end of the day. So to me, I think we need to make that distinction. Or do we believe that having women makes for a better workplace, being more inclusive, whether it's people with disabilities, Kanajang, it's, I think recently there was that picture trending about an airline, I think it was in Australia, where they have a lady, I believe she has Down syndrome.
Yeah.
And all of us were like, wow. She's working.
Emirates.
It's Emirates. I don't know. I think it's one of the ones that fly out to Australia or New Zealand. We were all wowed. Yeah, no, I also own a guest house. So we need to then say, if we believe it being more inclusive creates for a better work environment, and a higher receptionist who has Down syndrome, you are part of the same society. So it's either we believe the data or we don't believe the data. I feel at times we let our limitations get in the way. If she's gone for a year, but what if when she's back, she's much more productive? I also, even now, currently have one lady who's on maternity leave. Go guest housing. And I had to hire somebody to come. So now I'm paying double 2 salaries. It's, yes, to the pocket, it's not friendly. But if in the long run, imagine the level of trust that I create with my team when they know should they need, and they're all young. A lot of people in hospitality are in their 20s and 30s, especially at those entry-level jobs. So if they know that if they need to take time off, they'll have my support. Imagine the level of commitment that they'll have to the brand going forward. So that's just one thing that we have to look at. Yes, it will cost us in the short term financially, but in the long term, how much more will we benefit as a business? And then the second question was about social media. To say, let's try to be a little bit more understanding that for some of us, we're a bit more vocal on social media. I'm a very vocal person. And I think that probably started, like everything else, during COVID.
Yeah.
Because I never used to, because for the longest I was working as a marketing and public relations practitioner. So I was speaking on behalf of different brands. So then people will perceive press conference and you see me on TV and you're like, director of marketing F&B. So there's a distinction between raising concerns about societal issues There's a difference between that, le gone go tatalla, go rohakana le batho, go re bile ha re tsore, who's the current professor go UB, Chancellor Norisi, waso mamang, ha re se bona allowance ene ko o shenami. That language is not the same as you saying our bathong. You know, Ghana, we are relying on our stipends to actually, you know, pay our bills to even come to school. And going 2-3 weeks without an allowance, it's impacting me. You are still saying, raising the same concerns. You know, as our leadership in the university, do you not care about our issues? As opposed to and so we need to draw that distinction. And that's why I even made the point earlier, we are always involved in squabbles. At some point, we have to then say, but is Owanye really genuinely concerned about what's happening in society? Every single day, she's this negative person fighting with this one, doing this to this one. Man United, it's a lousy team. Everybody knows that. I talk about that. That's the only thing that you can point to negatively about. But it's in humor at the end of the day. So it's not just me being negative for negativity's sake. I hope that answered your question. Thank you.
I've actually lost the first two questions after that. But what I do remember is you had one about compliance, isn't it? Corporate governance. So I don't know if my sisters, one of you want to answer the question on corporate governance. Ma?
She'll answer it after the show.
After the show.
But you can also check out Mbewe's episode on the Poodycast. She talks a little bit about it right there. But yeah.
And then the other one is about managing your relationship with your senior who is actually not as effective as you and is feeling threatened by you, right? Yeah, that's quite common. And it's frustrating, very frustrating, and it's usually a sign that that leader is not a good leader, because a good leader will try and develop the people that they are leading. And there's often not a lot you can do about that. And they say often people leave an organization not because of the organization, but because of the leader. But I would urge you not to do anything rash. I'll give you an example. Myself, when I used to work for FSC. You guys don't know FSC. It was taken over by FNB. That's how FNB came here. Okay. So there was a lot of South African management, and my boss was, I had been head of HR where I was before. Now my role was to integrate the Botswana into FNB. So I said to him, when we finished, I said, when am I going to be taking over your job? Because he wasn't teaching me anything. And he's like, oh, okay, well, maybe you need 5 years to learn the banking policy. I was like, okay. Because, I could see I was not learning anything. That was one of the bosses where we used to stay in the office until 9, and I was asking, what are we doing? Right. So I didn't react, and then I waited until I found the right next job, and I moved. But I'm saying don't just do it because of that. You have to have a tactic. And sure, I took a pay cut, and it was a bank, so I lost the preferential interest rate. But I actually took a lower job and ended up much higher. Yeah. So all I can say is it's common, and you often can't do anything about it. But don't react. Just slowly find your way. You seem smart enough, you'll find something.
Awesome stuff. I could have used that advice once. I reacted, huh? I told them, I thought they were hating on me. I thought, it's like, yo, man, it's like, why do you guys not listen to me? Do you not hear this? And then I ended up fired, so. So don't be out there, messing with them. Guys, I've kept you longer than I had expected. I hope you enjoyed the iced tea as much as I did. And I enjoyed the conversation too much. And I hope to see you guys soon enough. I don't know where do you guys frequent, but this has been awesome. Mebaso Dambe Groth, Managing Director of Resource Logic, and Me Obonyi Malope, Marketing and Communications Manager at NMG Administrators Botswana. Thank you very much for being our guests.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is our show. And we'll see you again next week right here on the PoodyCast. Yo, shout out to the Business and Leadership Expo, the first one. So we're definitely going to get a second one next year. And shout out, Mr. Mokheti, man. You did an amazing job. You and your team. Shout out, man. This brother worked this thing, man. So shout out yourself and shout out your team. And with that said, peace.
People of different identities. Poody Podcast with Big SCA.